dollars when they couldn't afford to pay child support. And of course, you can't get a job if you got a warrant because they didn't know where you are and get ready to job. So it was this outlaw tag that you got and the stigma of being a deadbeat dad when you can't afford to send the money home. And if you did, you know the money wasn't going to the kid that made you more better. So I found out by teaching a class for Job Link up in Wood Avenue, Providence. They had a program with the child support enforcement. They sent me 15 deadbeat dads. And I found out through that program with the information that came from these men how to deal with that. And we came up with Rhode Island First Fatherhood as a group. This is on a website that you can find linked to CapeVerdean.net. Now, the other side of the coin is that I found that all this was rooted in the history. And we wanted to know, how did we get that way? How did we end up the outlaws, broken from our families and slaves to these jobs that go on nowhere and, you know, can't vote? Want to know how that happened. Well, we had to go back in history. One of my friends, Eddie Johnson, told me about the founding fathers up there in Plymouth and these black revolutionary soldiers. And this is where it all really began, because when I went up there, I found a Stargate, a actual geometric position in the globe where it all began. You might say the Dead Sea Scrolls. There was symbolically every thing that you could think of there. The jars from Africa, the evidence of villages hidden in the way they had the outside look like colonial, but the way the inside of the village was actually like West African. Their graves. Ceremonial, and the people that kept the story alive were Cape Verdean American immigrants that have been living in Plymouth for hundreds of years. So anyway, I got interested in parting ways and became a founder of this new Parting Ways project, which reconstituted about the year 1972. So we backtracked, paid off all the dues, we paid off all the papers, and did everything we were supposed to do to make it legal. And now it's a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So not to split the two up, because they do relate to each other. And also at the same time knowing that government, state, and all these people that I've come across, and all these organizations that have all the money and power in the world, they still haven't given up one dime. You know, they haven't done one thing that actually helps these fathers regain their position in the community as fathers, and, you know, join with their children and kind of more or less help rebuild what we lost. So we're using Future Image products and services and the ideas that I've gained over the years and came in through these fathers to recover and to re-educate. And the first thing we have to learn is symbolism in the word and what it means, and how these words that we every day we walk around, we don't realize that we're being controlled through words, pictures, images, and this is what part 2 is all about. Alright, so we'll cut here. I know it.
It's the food cheap. It's cheaper than the States. You know, it's build a house out here, like a two-deck house, brand new, made out of like solid cement, with everything in it. And it's like $30, you know.
Yeah, the only problem is, like you said, you got a corrupt, punk-ass government there. You know, because I met your president. I met your president. He ain't my president.
Right. He's a sellout.
Oh man, I could tell the minute I shook his hand. And even my son, Musa, felt the same thing. And the security was, I said, if this guy was anything, he would have security, right? I mean, you're traveling with generals and diplomats and so forth. and you come into the building in the city in the United States, you know there's turmoil going on, right? I mean, there's terrorism going on, right? And here's this president, huh? Yeah, he come over here in New Bedford one time. I caught him, and everybody was telling me, oh, you can't just go see him and talk to him. You can't just do that. Well, you know, me and my sons went there. Before he got there, we walked. Yeah, they had no security. Now, what that told me, he ain't one of us. Because if he was one of us, he'd be a little worried a little bit, you know, and have at least somebody to check people coming and going that look strange. Here we are, the only ones that look strange in the place. Nobody even asked you. Nothing. Secret Service and shit was outside instead of inside. I got to the place before they did and walked around and nobody said nothing. And I'm saying, man, that's not real government security. You know what I mean?
Well, his side of the family, his father's actually fortunate. His mother is Creole. So,
that's always the case. Yeah, that's always the case. But things have changed now. Things have changed. And I seriously been considering if this year is going to be the year or not, I don't know. But I seriously been considering becoming a candidate my damn self on a whim, not on a win, but a whim. You know what I'm saying? Bring out some issues.
President here in Ireland?
Yeah. You didn't know you can.
That's not a bad idea.
The only problem is a language barrier.
Yeah.
Because see, I try to get. Remember here in New Bedford, there was a Cape Verdean kid, Vinny DiMacedo. He was a state rep. Him and Cabral used to hang out. He's a white-looking young Bob. Anyway, because he was a senator, he was running for senator, right? And he won. Okay, but this is only because the publicity we've been getting off of the project we've been talking out in Plymouth. Okay? So now he's a senator, and I got him on tape and everything. We were talking about him being the first Cape Verdean to run for president. And I said, my spirit's telling me that this is a good year to run. And this guy didn't even want to think about nothing like that. And I'm saying to myself, this is 2008. If he had considered my counsel, right, when this shit started happening, he could have ran for president, and we could have made our people and our islands rich. I think he was Republican, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we already got Trump. At the time, we were getting a black president, right? And that was Obama. All right. Now he ran 8 years. I mean, he had 8 years. Those 8 years, DiMacedo could have been preparing to run. You follow? But because I'm black, he's young Bob. He just talked shit like every other politician, had me promising me, yeah, after I get to senator, then we'll talk about it because it would be good for the country, it'd be good for us and so forth. Just the publicity alone. You know what I'm saying? And then you got import-export. Then you got import-export of organic food coming directly to our project. That would have really, you know what I mean? These niggas don't think like that. So what I'm thinking is I gotta be like a Trump and be totally out of the box, announce my candidacy, and not when the race is running, but before the race even begins. Sounds crazy, but you know I'm crazy anyway. I'm an old man who can laugh at it. But if people go back on all my videos, they'll see anything I say I was gonna do, I did. anything that I told you was true. And this is all in the clouds, so they can't take it down, you know what I mean? I even had
the thing out here, I don't need to interrupt, but the thing out here, Kate Bird, is people, they look at one of our people that's been in America, they've been there, when they come back speaking good English, and they don't care if that's in the house of the people or not. They rather put a nice person in there than somebody that's helping. Because the Cabal Party, they actually just pushed them out during the election. MPD, MPR, or I forgot what stuff now. They just pushed the whole PITC out. They're gone. So it's all for this that's coming in. And they're not helping. There's already no job.
And I'm trying to tell, I know what that is. They're doing that everywhere. This is the big push, you might say. I know that. You know, I post the videos, so you know I know that. But the thing is, you gotta do, you know quantum physics, right?
A little bit.
Well, you know the theory. If you observe something, you change it. That's the whole thing about their secrecy in their organizations and their bloodline and so forth. They know things that common person don't know, and it seems like magic or power to the average person. But I've been shaking the hands of the most powerful one and find out they ain't nothing but midgets and minions. You know? And that there's a bigger thing that you deal with on another level. The difference between God and man is the ability to keep a secret. So I don't tell people or do things in detail and look like a fool. I just do my thing until it's get to the stage where right now I can do this. Exactly. And besides, we got allies. We got allies that they're doing stuff. What you see happening in America is happening all over the world. There's just as much good as there is bad in everything. You know what I mean? In everything. And those people that are doing the killing and stuff, they ain't human. Alright? They come from another time space, and we know all this stuff, and through what we do know, and I'm talking about we that let us make man weak. You know, you whatever reason you call to talk to me, it was a reason. Like I said, I have only one problem, and it's the language. It's the language, and if you have somebody posting in Creole or in Portuguese and on the islands, then you have a movement. See, there has to be a connection. There has to be a connection between here and there. And there's nobody on the islands knows more than me. Right.
I can have all the ways to try to help us get out of our situation. But if I don't come with money, they're not going to even bother to listen.
I understand, Milton. I understand that opposition. I can come.
One thing, I'm just going to look at it the way it's going on here, where I am fine, you know.
All right.
People here, like the president that came to Bravo, that came to the States, he came here and started paying people that MPN or whatever the name is, that political, that's pushing out PICD. They came in and started paying people about $80 for the campaign time to go out and vote. They were paying people to vote.
They're doing it here. They're doing it here.
Right, but it's legal. It's legal here.
It's legal here too.
Right. So the thing about here is the PITC, they did a lot of work. They did a lot of work here. But our people don't appreciate. They do not appreciate. They rather have a leader that's going to tell them lies, feed them a story, you know, and treat them like crap. They rather have that than somebody tell them the truth. I see it here. That's what, you know, that's why I made the comment, you can't put your wisdom, cast your wisdom before swine, for somebody that's more over it. You know, not take the wisdom that you're giving them. You know, and that's why a lot of our people, they don't want to even come out here and talk to us. They're like, they're stubborn, they won't hear it, you know, they're all about money, you know.
Well, that's a problem with all poor people. That's why they keep them poor. I understand that stuff. We couldn't possibly, in one conversation, I couldn't possibly sway you to understand what I'm saying. Money ain't going to be an issue. People are not going to be seeking money. They're going to be seeking food, and who has food will have money. Right now, this.
Are you talking about the future or now?
Well, we got to talk past, present, future tense, man. I hope you understand. That's me, and I've always been that way. Open your mind. Now, listen. You guys got organic food, seeds, knowledge, wisdom of nature, of holistic value. Or the tamarind. It doesn't matter. If you take that and market it properly, and you have your own income, you understand? If you're selling, say you send me a pound of moringa leaves. Now with the moringa leaves, I can market that. 3-4 leaves is, 10 times, 20 times your profit. Okay? Now you're a direct import, export, but you're doing it under the table, of course. But it's such a small amount. We do that sending each other food and clothes and stuff. They don't pay attention to that. But that value, that salt that comes from Fogo and stuff, that's probably more pure than the shit they're selling on the alternative networks. You know what I mean?
I used to sea salt too. I used that sea salt.
Yeah.
It's cheap.
Well, all it takes is a way of getting the shit here and marketing it. There's people.
The problem is, I don't mean to interrupt, but the problem is the ship. There's only one shipment that comes out here, and it's Portuguese from Fall River, and the prices are ridiculous to send a drum out here. So that's what's crushing us. We need, like I told you, we need our own transportation, our own Cape Verde transportation.
Exactly. But that's what you work on. You don't work on what you can't do. That's what you put your energy, your brain power. Right now, there's a wave coming through changing our DNA. Our DNA, your brain can open up that 9 tenses. All you have to do is open it and stay away from the negative shit, and you get all the alliance, you help. Unbelievable stuff going on. These millenniums understand because we come from the 20th century, right? It's not our time, but those that are born in the 21st century, they're already hardwired. That's why you see them attached to the digital world, cyber world, whereas people 50, 60, they can't even understand it. They don't know.
Spirituality.
Right, but these kids are coming in hardwired. So whoever rules on the internet, on the intellect, on the information. Now you talk about $1. Okay, so right now they're poor. Okay, say for example you got some neighbor, they got a bunch of moringa trees. All right, you tell them to process them seeds, put them in a pack and send it to us, and you throw them $100. Now that stuff spreads over time. Next election come around, well, everybody's going to know what's going on. Hello? Hello? Oh, man. Probably quell that problem. Yeah, and I'm hoping that maybe I could talk to you. Okay, because I didn't realize, I knew according to the memory I have, we did say that we would work with parting ways in Plymouth, and that we talk about Kingston at another time. Okay, well, here's the situation. I've seen the board members come and go for the past 13 years. I've been on the board ever since. I don't think anybody has that continuity. And it's gone into the second generation. We're very persistent, my family. And we put down some of the entranceway of a plan, and we ran into the Plymouth problem. The fundraising stones that we put there were stolen. So it kind of put us back a whole year. We was hoping...
The fundraising money was stolen?
Well, actually, we had got the money raised to put down the concrete entrance.
Yeah.
And there was supposed to be a wall. We have this on there. A wall of concrete that would have a block with the donation names of those who contributed on the wall. And unfortunately, a week or so after we brought them down there, someone stole them. Okay, I think there's yeah. And plus, the hearing had came up in town of Plymouth, and Eddie had just received okay to come out of the hospital and just had heart surgery, and going really downhill fast. So he kind of made me the acting president, and I am the vice president, have been for decades. But I usually don't get involved with the politics. I'm a hands-on guy, Okay, so now that I'm in charge, I don't have professional skills. I really don't like to dibble-dabble. I got enough experience to tell me where that leads. What I wanted to do was to talk to you man to man on trying to put up a entrance with walkways, maybe a bike trail. That would be something that was mentioned by Mr. Bubbins. And enhance the whole idea of a memorial, because I understand you want a cemetery here too. And the idea that the school's so close, and what we're planning on doing is have a living memorial with an fish aquaponic system, you know what I mean, for tourism, agritourism.
Yeah, I understand that, sure.
Yeah. And all that is okay by all the board members and everybody that's been involved, say for the past, July 4th is when we laid the first stones. Okay, so since July, the only thing that's been holding us up is this hearing, which is actually something that, again, I don't bother with that too much. I think I can control my friendship with Eddie. I think I can resolve it. You know what I mean? Okay, and the fact that I remembered that you were Cape Verdean, there's a lot more. We want to get the Cape Verdean history connected to that as well, and I've been working with that through my website, which is www.capeverdean.net. And I got a TV show 3 days a week as well. So I figured, we could work together. If we could sit down and talk physically.
Right now, my life is just absolutely upside down because I have this big. I certainly would like to help as far as, I understand, and it's important that we being a Cape Verdean is, that obviously makes a great deal of sense. I'm just being frank in the sense that right now, my time is just, this is such a huge endeavor. I went from one town to having to try to run in 7 different towns, and it's going to be, as soon as I announced, it's just been absolutely crazy. So I don't know when I'm going to, in the short term, when I'm going to have time to, be of any real assistance, in the short term, just because of everything that's going on. But I don't want it to sound like I'm not interested, because I understand the mission and what you're trying to do. So it's something I want to help with, but I can't imagine in the next, month or so really having the time, just because of it is trying to get an organization that's it's going to be tough, but running a race this big, and I'm just trying to get all hands on deck and try to, get to there. So that's why I'm not, it's somewhat of a challenge for me.
Yes, it is. Well, I don't think, I understand you completely. I don't think that's going to be a problem. You say in a month or two. I know how hard it is to run a candidate for Senate, and I know how important it is not only to Plymouth and stuff, also to Cape Verdean people in general.
So here's what I'm thinking. Let's watch. Let's see what happens. I don't know what my opponent's going to be like. I don't know. Let's say I get in this and it's not a real opponent, and I'm just going. That certainly will free me up with some time.
Of course.
And then we can readdress the situation, because I do want to be helpful. Just, it's, let's see, this is mid-March. I would say, between mid-March and April 1st, you can call back afterwards, and you got my cell phone number, and I will be able to be in a better position to let you know what it's looking like for me. we have a huge battle going on, or you know, it looks pretty smooth, and if it looks pretty smooth, that's going to free me up to be able to do some of the things that I'd like to do.
I'd be glad to wait, and in fact, I have been watching your campaign and watching your career. I'm praying for you, guy. All right, so yeah, and I'll see if I can help you on the social networks and so forth. I'll keep whatever I can do to help you on that. All right.
I appreciate on your social network talking me up as obviously a Cape Verdean born legislator that and with your friends of the Cape Verdean community, and you can let them know what
You are the first in history, right?
I'm always for the Cape Verdean community. I would appreciate anything you can do.
Yeah, you are the first Cape Verdean run for the Senate, I believe, right?
Say that again?
You are the first Cape Verdean to run for Senate, I believe.
I'm the first Cape Verdean born one.
Ah.
There have been other Cape Verdeans, that have run, and that have been in office, but I'm the only one that was born there.
Okay, well, that's good information, though. Hey, listen, I'm going to let you go. I know how busy you are. And like I said, I will try to support you the best I can, and look forward to talking to you in April, maybe.
Okay, well, it's great to hear from you.
Okay, and good luck, guy. Thank you.
We have many stories breaking all over the place, but I want to focus on the protesters in America, the street protesters. The protests, the riots, cops are being shot, people in inner cities are being shot, demands are being made, people are being warned not to go into certain cities, not to go into certain areas. What is happening? So I want to walk this back. Walk it back far enough so that we can take an actual look at what's going on here. The inner cities of America used to be called ghettos, used to be called before that slums. These are the areas. In 1966, President Lyndon Johnson declared a war on poverty, and a massive program was initiated. A bill was passed, and it's been estimated that since that time until now, $2 trillion have been spent on trying to alleviate poverty in America, and much of that money has gone into these inner cities. And things are worse now than they've ever been before. How is that possible? Well, stolen money, for one thing. There has never been a review, an accounting of where all that money went, into what programs, and where it didn't go, and whether it went to places where it was earmarked to go, and who took it, and who took it away, and who absconded with it, what they did with it. And my bet is that there will never be a study of that, because this scandal would be a ripper. Point 2, globalism. The effect of globalism on jobs in America, and we're focusing here, again, on inner cities. Manufacturing jobs. By these various trade treaties, which I have talked about before on this show, NAFTA, CAFTA, GATT, and now we have the TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership.
The Revolution, Korea, all these wars we fought in. Nobody knows nobody. So it's time for us to come together, collaborate, and recognize these forgotten soldiers, so that our children can be proud, just like everybody else's children that has knowledge of their history. And I know it has done something to me, it has done something to my students, and these are mature men who never even dreamed they had such a glorious past. And I do mean a lot of unbelievable heroism, integrity, strength, value, things that we lost. And most of the young men and women today are living a beast life because they had no American values. We're broken up into all kinds of groups. They say diversity is great. I kind of look at it as one people. And I'm hoping that Party Ways plays a role in that. I'm not the founder. I happened to be there when Eddie Johnson, who's an institution builder, said to me, "Hey, Wayne, you need to come out here and take a look at this because this is your bag. This is where you come from. Put it on the website and let the world know about it." And I went out there. It was in the woods. It was covered up with trees and bushes. I don't see nothing here. There's not even a place to park on the side of the road. Well, we moved the bushes and we went in there and we saw 4 little stones sitting in the ground amongst all the shrubs and trees. And I said, well, how come it's not taken care of? Basically, it all boils down to us. We're either not aware of it or we don't care about it. And I'll tell you something, we're going to pay for it if we don't work hard to get a collaboration amongst, and I expect the veterans to take that leadership role. I mean, we've been there. We know what, how important it is to back each other up, to stand beside each other. And this is an effort that has some mystery to it. Why hasn't this been put in the kids' school, textbooks in college? Why aren't we in there? What's going on? Well, I'm going to make it short because we got a wonderful group here. Maybe they can answer some of these questions. But I hope and pray that you don't forget today that the men, the veterans, the ones who and defended your parents and your parents, don't forget them. Not just on Patriots Day, but when they're standing on the corner looking for a meal. Or they're on TV because their lives were ruined. They have nothing in their background. You have no background, have no past, you have no future. So my message to you, as best I can give it, is don't forget those patriots. Don't forget those veterans from all the wars. But most importantly, let's go back to the beginning. Not deal with the effect, the cause. We were here, we participated, we did all those things. Put us in your classrooms. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Coming up for ratification. This is a free pass for giant corporations, especially manufacturing corporations in America, to close up shop here, take their factories, put them in hellholes overseas, where they employ people at slave wages, export those products back here where people have already been thrown out of jobs, massive numbers of people. No tariffs, no taxes, no penalties. That enables these corporations to sell the products here at a profit. Because what do these trade treaties do? They remove the tariffs. That's how it works. If they didn't remove the tariffs, this whole flight of capital and factories would never have taken place. And so in poverty-stricken areas in inner cities in America, which are already suffering high unemployment figures, it gets much worse. It spreads like wildfire. People who had jobs are thrown out on the street. Things are boiling. Things are boiling. Point 3. Gangs. The presence of gangs. Ubiquitous across America, in cities, and especially in inner cities. Creating and maintaining a climate of fear, danger, violence for all the residents who are virtually held hostage and trapped in those areas. Unbelievable tragedy. And what is being done? Has there ever been a comprehensive federal strategy for wiping out gangs? Has that ever been a major agenda? No. Never. The gangs are permitted to remain in place and are supported, in fact. Why? Because they work for major drug cartels in drug distribution. And the drug industry, by which I mean here the street drug industry, is very big business. Very big business in profits. Hundreds of billions, if not trillions, for major players, some of whom are in government, some of whom are connected to government, some of whom are behind and above the government, such as banks, like the HSBC Bank, that was discovered to have laundered gigantic amounts of money for drug cartels. That's big biz. I believe there is credible evidence that federal agencies made a deal with the biggest drug cartel in Mexico, the Sinaloa, whereby there would be clean, uninterrupted routes of travel from the southern border of the United States up to major hub cities in America, particularly Chicago, for redistribution of drugs. And in that deal, what Sinaloa provided in return was actionable intelligence on its rival cartels to the U.S. government, who would then make seizures and arrests, but not the Sinaloa. There would be no major interruption of service there. And so these gangs continue to flourish, continue to make life in inner cities unsupportable. Danger, fear, violence, shootings, deaths. Next point. No support, and you've got to really screw in your brain tight on this one. In inner cities, despite all these odds, there are people, relatively few, who by sheer dint of imagination, persistence, conviction, willpower, have launched successful local businesses. Do we ever hear about them? Rarely, maybe a photo op here or there. But has the federal government ever considered supporting these brilliant people who have managed to succeed? And with a tiny fraction of the money that has been wasted on the war on poverty, turn these successful business people into long-term instructors, teaching their neighbors and other people in inner cities how to really do it. How do you really start a business and make it succeed? Not just in theory, not just in the classroom, but in real life in these places, because they are among the heroes, these people. Zero support for the positive. Zero support for the positive. Why is that? Because big government wants to define, control, and solve all problems itself with no outside interference. We are the government. If there is poverty, we will make war on it and alleviate it. But we will not give our power to be the problem solver over to private citizens who actually know what they're doing and are succeeding at it. Never going to happen. Because government, big government, is formed as a collective for a collective society in which ultimately there are no heroes, no private sector heroes. That is what government does to restrain and repress the positive side of things. Next point. Want to know about cooperative enterprise in inner cities? And I believe I've mentioned this on the show before. In several cities across America, there are already what's called urban farms in inner cities. at least one of which in Chicago actually takes place inside a large building. Of course, they're also outdoors. And what happens in these urban farms? The people who live there, the residents, are taught to grow their own fresh, clean food. They eat the food. They get nutritional value, maybe for the first time in their lives. They also learn how to do something exceedingly productive. Grow food. Creating nutrition. Responsibility. Cooperative sharing of crops, of food crops. All ages, from the smallest kids to the oldest people. A magnificent undertaking. Do you see any tiny trickle of federal money going into these inner cities for urban farms? Barely a whisper. Barely a whisper. When in fact, again, understand this, for a tiny fraction of the money that has been wasted on the war on poverty, you could create, with a little bit of aid, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 of these fantastic urban farms in cities across America, in inner cities across America, and that alone would revolutionize life in those places. That alone, if nothing else happened. But again, does the federal government recognize this? Acknowledge it? Do anything about it? No. Because that would be letting power out of their hands in Washington and putting it into the hands of the people who are already there on the ground. That really gets my blood boiling, that one. And of course, we could go into detail about the shameful, vicious mortgage loan practices in inner cities whereby people don't read the tiny volume of small print in their contracts eventually are stripped of their homes because they can't make payments and are thrown out on the street. So what is all this adding up to here? This is adding up to the creation and maintenance of a permanent underclass of people in America in these inner cities. That's what has happened. Not only has it happened, but it is the objective, the purpose, the goal, to create an entirely dependent on government, permanent, expanding underclass in America. And not just to get their votes in election seasons, not just for that, but in fact to gradually sink the entire nation into a vortex, a widening vortex of poverty, conflict, division, shaming, guilt, etc., 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 on and on and on and on. It's divide and conquer. And a great deal of what we're seeing now in the news that's happening in inner cities, where, by the way, if you wanted to add up where violent deaths are really coming from, only a very, very small fraction involve police shootings of residents of those communities. Most of the violence is coming from gangs, the shootings, the killings, etc., etc. So what we're looking at here is a plan, a program, a covert op, a psychological operation, all of the above, a conspiracy. Let's use the word because it applies correctly. A conspiracy that, by continuing to expand and maintain so that it never goes away, this permanent underclass that is entirely dependent on the government for survival, that this will engender enough conflict with other sectors of the economy, other people who live in other places, shaming, guilt, it's your fault, the white versus black, the white versus brown, the brown versus black, on and on and on and on, with over and over again charges of racism this way and racism that way and racism forwards and backwards and inside out and upside down, all over the place. Bringing things to the boiling point and over the boiling point to wreck the country, to take it down, to propose a fictional picture of what is actually happening in these inner cities, as opposed to the real factors that I've just sketched out for you. Factors that, as I've mentioned, could be corrected, could be turned around, but certainly not by the federal government, because the federal government fully intends to continue owning those inner cities and holding those people who live there hostage. This eventually, and we're seeing it in stages now, begins to envelop the entire nation in a, quote, dialogue, in a, quote, conflict, accusations back and forth, to the point where no rational discussion can take place about what's really happening here, and therefore no solutions. While behind the scenes, the federal government and those people who control it are intentionally manufacturing this continuing state of affairs. In exactly the same way, by the way, as I've indicated in other reports here on the show, that in the so-called third world, where generation to generation starvation, malnutrition, extreme poverty, conflicts, armed conflicts, lack of basic sanitation, lack of clean, nutritious food, etc., etc., etc. All of these factors have produced massive generations of illness, disability, depletion of populations to make them easy and ripe for takeover, not only by local dictators, but by massive corporations who come in and gobble up the arable land, the resources, the cheap labor, etc., etc., etc. But there are always cover stories, you see, to obscure the fact that these local dictators and their allies, their foreign investors and so forth, are invested in keeping this permanent underclass teetering on the edge, too weak to resist. That is a very comparative picture to what is happening in America now. Quite a useful comparison to see where all of this is heading. And no matter what the people in the Congress, and no matter what the people in the Senate, and no matter what the presidents, this one, the last one, the one before, and so on, say and mouth, etc., about, oh, we want to improve employment numbers, and we have, and we want to lift up everyone, and, all of this kind of semi-religious, messianic rhetoric, which is nothing more than a house of cards and vague generalities and promises and so forth, and we're all in this together, and I'm with you, and I understand, and I feel your pain, and all of this that has been broadcast by leading politicians over the decades is nothing more than a cynical smokescreen with no intention of ever putting anything into practice that actually works. Sure, you can get freebies. There are freebies available. But these freebies can connect you even tighter to dependency upon the government. And what do you think happens to people? What do you think would happen to you If you were living for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and thus your children also growing up under all of this system whereby you have no work, you have no vision for your own life, you have no future that you see, all you have is dependence for survival on the government. How likely is it as time passes that you are going to become energized and motivated to do something, to step out of this horrendously oppressive system and make your own way in the world, which of course is the objective for everybody? Your own power, your own creative insight, your own vision, your own future, your own imagination of what you can achieve and what you really desire to achieve. How likely is any of that going to happen when people are buried and buried and buried further under in this lunatic system? And then, and I'll close here, all of the rhetoric comes out, and I'm not just talking about government rhetoric now, academic rhetoric, sociological rhetoric, piled on, media rhetoric, editorial rhetoric, broadcast rhetoric, that you see nothing that's happening in the present can be judged or really evaluated except by the causes from the past.
Girls that are in our program, the maintenance of the floors, they go to the different cubicles, collect the money for supplies such as paper towels, napkins, and toilet paper. That supplies the whole cubicle and also puts a little money in their pocket. What we're trying to do, really, is not only start a business, but help construct that. You got to cut. You got a big table in front of you. Go where? Can you go from where you were talking about? Jobs out here that we have right now are construction jobs or maintenance jobs. But we hope by next week we could actually have the lamination process going. That's why the surveys out in the street taking surveys.
Now we're back inside the building where Musa was showing you about. With me is Musa's son. His name is also Musa. For a while now. How is it, and is it helping you out?
I guess it's been helping me out. I've been here, getting a couple bucks now and everything.
What are you learning from this experience?
Just how to do new things, moving stuff,
I mean, later on you're going to take like this piano, like your father said, and he's going to sand it down, and I mean, this is really big deal. You're going to actually take famous people's pictures on it, and your father he's going to be a well-known. It's an opportunity for you to be, on TV now and being able to share this experience that your father's doing. Someday you'll look back and say it was well worth it. What do you hope to do? Do you hope to follow his footsteps and learn this craft, or you already do it?
I already do it, but I plan on following his footsteps.